Hello YouTubers, today's video is part 2 of our trip to Belize in December. This will include our deep sea fishing, a day of snorkeling, and a day at the beach. Our first excursion was a trip on the boat out to do some fishing out by the reef. However, before we could do that, we went out to catch some bait. Our boat captain was a friend of Kathy's, which was Rob, and our fishing guide was Ollie. As Rob steered the boat towards the shore, Ollie would navigate and tell him where the best places to go where he can cast the net off to catch the sardines, which we would be using for bait. They make it look easy, as though they could drive right to the spot, cast out the net, and just bring in as many as they wanted. Once we got all the bait we needed, Rob took us out to a fishing spot out near the reef where it seemed to start a little slow, but once we caught on, it started picking up pretty good. First we started catching jackfish, and then after a little while, Bill even managed to snag a barracuda. Marilyn was a little bit nervous about us hitting the fish with a stick, but if you know barracuda and their sharp teeth, you don't want them too much. You don't want them conscious when they get into the boat. After we got our fill of fishing, Rob took us over to this island where the tarpon seem to hang out. As soon as we pull up, they gather up right around the boat, knowing that they're going to get fed. He gave several of us a sardine just to hold between our fingers and told us to stick our hand out over the water and just watch the fish jump. Here I put my GoPro in the water for a cool underwater fish shot. When we left what I'll call Tarpon Island, we went out to a spot where Rob and Ollie have some dedicated or their own lobster traps. They have about 15 to 20 locations where they mark with GPS, and they have their own special locations where they can grab or catch lobsters. Unfortunately, since I was the one pulling lobsters off the spears as Ollie brought them up, I wasn't able to catch any shots of the actual catch. But we did pick up about 17 lobsters. After catching enough fish and lobsters and having our fun out by the Tarpon Island, we headed back. So, unfortunately, I had to dub down the sound because we had the radio going, and I don't want to get ticked for audio violation or copyright violation. In case you're wondering, the temperature down there was right around 85 degrees, and I would say the water temperature was pretty close to about 80 to 82 degrees. It wasn't too warm, but it wasn't too cold. It was really nice to do some swimming in. You can see there's an awful lot of building up in Ambergues Cay. As I'd said in a previous video, the infrastructure just can't keep up with the advancements and the progression that they're having in that area. Again, I apologize. I had to dub down the audio to avoid copyright infringement. But at this time, we're pulling right into the dock where Rob keeps his boat. It's all shared by a few other people within the community. But it's quite a nice long dock. At that point, after we got in there, we unloaded and cleaned the fish and the lobsters right there and just tossed the scraps in for the birds. With all the fish and the lobsters that we did catch, we took what we needed for our own meals and then donated the rest. Nothing went to waste. A day or two later, Ollie hooked us up with his friend Lenny, who took us out snorkeling and gave us a little tour of the reefs with a different point of view. Lenny took us out to a national preserve where it's protected. In fact, we had to sign in just to be able to do snorkeling around there. Once we got registered and got placed at a buoy, we were able to get fitted up with our snorkeling equipment. And then he helped us get into the water and made sure he was with us the entire time to guide us around the reefs to make sure we saw all the sights that we could possibly see. To start, the water was only about 4 or 5 feet deep, but as we got farther along, we started to see more wildlife, and the water got much deeper, and the colors got a lot more vibrant. Unfortunately, the camera just doesn't pick it all up, but the sights is just unbelievable. Lenny had put a life preserver in the water and made sure that a couple of us held on to it along with the rope if we felt uncomfortable. And he kind of guided us around the reef and just to show us a lot of the different sights, asking us definitely not to touch the bottom because first of all the coral was awful sharp, and second of all you don't want to disturb that ocean floor. When we were done, he took us to another place where we could swim with the sharks. That's one of my biggest fears, and it's probably one of the most exciting things I experienced. When we arrived, he had us jump in on the starboard side as he fed the sharks and the other fish from the port side. Now these sharks are just nurse sharks, which he assured us were totally harmless. However, to me, a shark is a shark and is still one of the scariest creatures I've ever known and one of my biggest fears I've ever had. The water was only about 5 or 6 feet deep, maybe a little deeper in some spots, but it was as clear as can be, so we really got some good up-close shots of the fish. When we first got in the water, Lenny advised us to try to stay at least 5 feet away from the sharks and the other wildlife. After all, they are wild animals or wild fish, and that you just don't know what can happen. Unfortunately, as you'll see, nobody told that to the sharks and the other fish because they really gave me a little bit of a surprise. This little guy seemed to like checking us out, although he stayed pretty close to the bottom, left us alone most of the time. This is where a 68-year-old man is face to face with the biggest fear that he ever had in his entire life. I don't care if it is just a nurse shark. It's scary to me, and to me it's still a shark. In all honesty though, it's probably one of the biggest thrills I ever had in my entire life. And if I had it do all over again, I certainly would. I got a little closer to 5 foot. You did tell them to stay 5 feet away. As a footnote, Lenny had plenty of rum punch on board for us, which I took advantage to help calm my nerves. On another day, we decided to spend some time out on Secret Beach, which is located on the north end of Ambergues Cay. This particular trip, Ollie took us out on his own personal boat, which was just a short ride, probably about 20 minutes or so. Otherwise, if we would have driven, it probably would have taken well over an hour. As I said, Secret Beach is on the north part of Ambergues Cay, and it's best to get there by water, which again makes it a lot quicker other than driving there privately or on the roads. The beach consists of approximately 7 different restaurants and bars that you could just simply just pull your boat up and moor it in the water, anchored I should say. And then they all seem to have tables that are right out in the water. Each individual restaurant will come out and serve you right there, so you never even have to walk in. We had an enjoyable day there. We just took some time swimming, walking along the beach. We ordered a few cocktails, was able to have some munchies to eat, and then overall just had a real nice time. The beach part was kind of gravelly and it's a little bit rocky at the very shore, but other than that, the water was nice and clean and very nice to swim in. That pretty much concludes part 2, which is our water fun on Belize or on the Ambergues Cay. Part 3 will be of the Maya ruins as well as the Belize Zoo. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And most of all, thanks for watching.